Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week, we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. And today I have a very special guest with me, Kevin Downey. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Good. Right now it's in the summer of 23 and it's hot.
Yeah, it sure is. That's for sure.
So tell us where you are currently living and where you're from.
So I currently live here in town in Portsmouth, Ohio, and this is where I was born and raised.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to jump into your story and you just start, you go back as far as you want in what you want to say. And so I know that you and I met. I usually put in a disclaimer if I already know somebody, but we met years and years ago, just before you started teaching.
Yes, that's correct.
It was a long time ago.
A long time ago, because I remember, working that summer at Star Workshop, and what a valuable experience and humbling experience and everything else you want you could say that I learned there. So I'm very grateful for that summer experience there.
And then you went on to another school, and you
Yes,
were
I went.
teaching.
Yes. Am I allowed to mention the schools or whatever?
I think you can.
Okay. Yeah. So from there, I went to Portsmouth West, and
Okay.
since then I've been at three other districts.
So was
And
that in what level? Like junior high, high school, elementary?
all
Really?
Portsmouth
Okay.
West. Portsmouth West was elementary, and then uh, Portsmouth. I was an assistant principal there. That was also elementary, and then from there I went to Green, which encompassed elementary and high school. And I've kind of come back full circle because I'm now at West again.
Oh, okay.
So, and so many people that I know are there, and it's been wonderful getting back to where kind of it all started. But as for myself, I went to Portsmouth.
Okay. Um, so was there anyone that sort of influenced you to become an educator and an administrator as well?
Yes, I mean to be honest, being a teacher, being an administrator was probably the farthest thing from my mind when I was growing up. And I actually when I first got out of college, I was a social worker. So for a number of years, I worked for Shawnee, what's called Shawnee Family Health.
Okay.
And
I had no idea.
I think it was from there doing some uh, case working and teaching. I kind of developed, I think, that yearning to teach others on a full time basis. I think that's kind of where it started. So it was kind of by accident because I didn't really have a lot of family members that teach.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I had no
my
idea
mother
that.
wasn't a teacher.
Okay. I had no idea that you had worked in the social work field either. There you go.
Yes, yes, I did for about 6 or 7 years.
Wow. Okay. And so about a year or so, you branched into a hobby. Um,
Hmm.
so you want to Tell us about.
Well, yeah, Laura, I've always wondered what it would be like to, work for myself. Uh, um, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people when you think about, you put in a hard day's work. What would ever happen if, you put all that hard work into your own business? And, as you're when you're younger and you have a family, um, you're just thinking, or at least I was, you just want a good paying job to help, provide for your kids and your family. Um, so to think about taking a risk and just trying to start a business or something was kind of out of the question. I wasn't really a big risk taker back then, but when I hit 50, and my son is married, I'm an empty nester. uh I thought, it's maybe time to strike out and try a few things within reason.
Mm-hmm.
uh so I don't think anybody really knew, including my family, that I was I was a baker of biscuits. uh,
They went,
but
"You're doing what?"
I know. I think everybody was like, "This is some kind of joke," because I'm more of like an outdoorsy person, and don't really like to stay in the house all day. But as far as where this idea originated, I have to go back probably many, many years ago when I was in the service. Um, I was in the Navy in Long Beach, California, and of course, I was on a ship there. And whatever branch of service you're in, you meet a lot of different people from different places,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of different cultures, and everybody just seems to make it work. And I met a lot of fellas from down south, places like Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, Tennessee. And one thing that would always come up every time, and I don't know if it was because the food on the ship was so bad, but was they would talk about their mamas or their grandma's biscuits and how they missed them all the time. And I thought, one day I'm going to try some of these recipes that they're giving me for these biscuits. Because when I was in the service, I always was on the ship. I never had a few people did. I never had like an apartment with a stove and all that. So my entire service was spent there on the ship, um, as far as my living quarters and everything. Uh, and even when I got out, I went right into college. That summer that I got out of the Navy, I went straight up to Ohio State, and I really had plans on being an officer. And I had a letter from my commanding officer. That's what I wanted to do, was become an officer, because you got to remember, this was back in, I think I went in 1985, and the movie Top Gun came out in 1986.
Oh, the
So
uniform gotcha, did it? Or the
yes,
movie?
yes. So me
Yeah.
and just about every guy in the Navy, we wanted to become officers. So that was the original plan. And of course, I was still in the reserves too. So I was still doing reserve time when I got out, was going to Ohio State. But I think, I gradually got that freedom that you just don't have when you're in the service. And the other things kind of fell to the wayside. And I'm like, do I really want to become an officer and go back out on the ocean again? So um, I don't know if I had to do it all over again. Maybe I would have stayed in for 20 years and did something else. But I got out when my time was over, and got my bachelor's degree from Ohio State. And that's when I came home and became a social worker, and kind of forgot about the biscuits for years and years and years, of course. The, so uh, when I became an empty nester, I really started thinking about these things. What am I going to do? I came into teaching late, which means uh, I'm going to have to do a number of years to have a decent retirement pay. So what else can I do besides being, a greeter at Walmart or something when I get out of here and retire? Um, and it was probably about, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, I started noticing these food trucks just sprouting up everywhere. And it just got me to thinking about if I could, well, I guess the first thing I thought about was what could I do in the food business to to make money and a decent living to supplement retirement, things of that nature. Um, and I'm not one to just try to go out and purchase a food truck because who wants another loan to pay on? So basically, making a very long story short, about a year and a half ago, I started baking these biscuits. They're a Southern style gourmet type biscuit, and I would just give them to anybody that would take them. Really, um, uh, I, wherever I was teaching or wherever I was administrating for over this last year, I wanted people's opinion, whether I knew them, whether I didn't, and to see if, in fact, this was something that people would like, and also is it something that Portsmouth doesn't really have. Uh, because my ultimate goal is to have a biscuit centered food truck for breakfast and lunch. Um, but how I've been starting out, of course, over this past year, once I got the data back of so much good feedback on the biscuits, I thought, well, it's time to take this to the next level, I guess you would say, which for me was the local farmers market.
Mhm.
Um, and I just, I'd bring biscuits down there and just keep selling out. Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Um, I was just going to say that I know that you start at the farmers market, and that's a wonderful place because it's a lot of networking
Yeah.
and it's really grown over the years. And the whole
Yes.
concept,
Yes. Yes, it sure has. And really, I mean, from there, I've done some I don't know if charity events is the right word, but stuff for Sierra's Haven. I've gone there, and when they're trying to adopt pets out, I've done a market that Shawnee State had, and that had many different vendors, and it's all been so positive. And I'm already a social person, so I really enjoy that aspect of the business. Um, Marketing and doing websites and stuff is really not my thing. I like to meet the people. I like to make the people happy with a good product. Um, so right now, I still for this past summer, I have just been operating out of a food tent um, that I set up. And the name of my, I guess, venture is called Heavens to Biscuits. And of course,
love that.
people, yes, Heavens to Biscuits, and people can find it on Facebook and Instagram. Um, but I'm still, Laura, kind of in those learning stages and starting back to school. My day job has really it slows things down because you also have to dedicate a good amount of time to the kids. So it's right now I'm just going to be able to do weekends for a while.
Oh,
But
I can see that,
yeah,
it and just especially just getting started because school is starting. It starts
Yes.
earlier. When I was in school, we started after Labor Day, but that's not the way it is now. But
No, for most schools, you're starting a couple weeks before then anymore. But that's the way it is.
mhm. So
Um,
tell us
yeah,
about flavors. Do you have different flavors of them?
yeah. I have 3 or 4 different flavors that I feel comfortable with as far as serving a good product. I'm always experimenting, and
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I'm going to be experimenting with like a shortcake that I want to bring out in the fall. I'm experimenting with kind of some fall recipes, but my mainstays that people keep giving me good feedback on are strawberry biscuit, blueberry, a cheddar and chive biscuit, and then just
Mm.
the just your I don't want to say run of the mill classic. Let's call it that classic
Okay.
buttermilk biscuit that is really really great with gravy and if you want a really hearty good biscuit. The biscuits I make, they're they fill you up.
Really? So they're not little things.
No, they're not little, and they've got many ingredients in them that probably uh, people aren't used to in just a regular biscuit up here. Now down south, it's probably going to be a different story. Up here, I grew up on toast and oatmeal and things. Yeah, down south, um, and of course, when I say down south, I mean probably from North Carolina on down.
Mm-hmm.
Biscuits kind of rule down there um, instead of bread and toast. So folks down there might be more used to the type of biscuit I make and the flour I use and things like that. But I wanted to try to bring that um, up here north a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, even though we're in southern Ohio. We're still we're still quite considerably up north.
Right.
So
Um,
I've gotten a lot of good feedback about that. I have to give a quick shout out to the Cricker Hub, the Shawnee State.
uh-huh.
I did take an entrepreneurial class there over the summer because Laura, I really know nothing about business. Um,
Mhm.
so that was certainly a big help in how to make business plans and how to contact people and things of that nature.
Um,
I'm a great socializer, but that's about as far as it goes.
well, and what people don't realize is that it's hard to wear every hat and to
Yes.
be an expert at all of them. So,
Mm,
you really fine tune and hone in on your skill and your passion. And then sometimes the business part is more challenging. And I hear that all the time. So
oh, I agree with that
and
100%.
I think it's a
Yeah.
different side of the brain than,
Yeah.
than the average creativity, you know. But anyway,
Yes. I definitely feel that way as well.
well, that is so cool. I had no idea. We have not caught up in a long time, many, many years. So,
Yes, it has been a long time. Yes.
so this podcast is called the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast. And I always ask people what that means to them because, and I say every time, it's different for everyone. So, what does it mean for Kevin?
So, bloom where you're planted, I guess that to me means wherever you are, wherever you're located, because there's a number of folks that I graduated with in high school that, of course, are in different places. I just think it means to try to grow and thrive wherever you are, uh, to make it a better place. I always wanted to move back to Portsmouth years and years ago to try to help make things a better community because uh, Portsmouth has done so much for me growing up as a kid. And yeah, I don't think you realize these things until you get older, how important that is. And
Mm,
what really sparked me a few years ago was a man by the name of Jeremy Burnside.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I really did, I met Jeremy a couple of times in passing at events. He wouldn't have known who I was, but he was not from here. And talk about a guy who bloomed where he went to, where he was planted. He,
Absolutely.
I could think of other people. He just comes to my mind very quickly because of the excitement he brought back to this town, or yes, that he brought to this town, and he wasn't even from here. so, but it is people like that that really inspire me to kind of be a pocket of excellence wherever I am, if it's in the classroom, or just anywhere. Just things could be chaos around you, but just try to be the best you can be where you're at. But I love how that gentleman's legacy continues to grow through people that knew him and the Glockners, and of course other much other people around here. But I really never got to tell that man or his family how much they inspired me, because you can get so down, um, with how things have been around here for so long. And I really see good things beginning to happen. And there are such good people here and in the counties. Um, and you don't know that until you get out and meet folks. And that is just something that I love to do, is meeting people and hearing their stories, similar to what you do, Laura.
Well, when you talk about traveling around, I do want to mention that you travel a little bit on your
Mm.
motorcycle, and that's something else I didn't know that you did. But kind of touch on that.
Well, off and on, probably a lot of people don't know, but I grew up with motorcycles, and I grew up with like dirt bikes, and
Mm-hmm.
so then I would go. I was born and raised here in town, so I had mopeds and stuff here in town, but I would go to different places to ride. Uh, so I first started out on a dirt bike, and then I would go years without anything, and then um, I got married and got a motorcycle, and that really she wasn't real happy with that, so I got rid of
Mm.
that motorcycle. And I understand why, because gosh, it's not the safest thing sometimes. But when I'm like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea that I'm riding this thing with the kids are little and things, and if something were to happen to me. But so for a number of years I didn't have a motorcycle, and then I get on YouTube and I start watching these folks uh, that take motorcycle trips and things like that across the country, and it really got my blood flowing again to ride, because I like to ride long distances. I don't just like to go out and eat and then go back home. Although there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of folks do that. I like to take trips as far as I can go. Um, and I haven't been nearly as far as I would like to. But
So,
but
do you like camp on the road or drive to a
I
hotel and
usually
sightsee?
yeah, I usually stay in a hotel, or I stay at a motorcycle lodge or something like that. I stayed I like my last trip. Um, I did the Blue Ridge Parkway, which starts in Virginia, then I think ends in Cherokee, North Carolina. So I remember staying in a motel one day for that. Then I would stay at a motorcycle lodge that was out in the woods. Just I usually don't camp, although that would probably be a much cheaper way to do it, and a lot of people do that. Um,
I've
But
never
there
heard of
again, I,
motorcycle lodges. I've never heard of before.
yeah, they're specifically designed for motorcycles. So it's
Wow.
really cool. And you can usually park your bike right up by your door and things. And you can also, now some of these places are also like you can camp with a tent. Um, you can bring an RV, but then some of them are just strictly for motorcycles.
Cool.
So, just being a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and then meeting people from all over the place, and especially meeting veterans. That's something that's very special to me. And uh, I love talking to veterans. I remember meeting these two gentlemen that were in the Vietnam War, and they were both on motorcycles, and we were all staying at the same place. And they had some just I could go on and on about the stories that they told me, because they were at the time in their early 70s.
Oh,
I'm in my 50s. So yeah, so your Vietnam vets are going to be 70s and up, I believe. And these
mm,
gentlemen were riding motorcycles, and I was like, "Wow, you guys are such an inspiration." Um,
wow.
but it all goes back to meeting people and hearing stories, and it's just something I've always enjoyed doing, and I still do, and
So
I hope
what's
I can keep it up for a while.
so what's the farthest that you've traveled?
Uh, not really very far. Probably
The Blue Ridge
Georgia,
Parkway. Oh,
Georgia,
well.
maybe. I mean, there's a place called Sturgis that I would love to get to out west in South Dakota. Not so much for this. I mean, it would be nice to go to the Sturgis Rally, which is every year in August. But there, I would just like to ride out west uh, because of how I've heard is just so beautiful out there, wide open
Mm.
skies and plains. And I've mainly rode in the mountains here, and up around New York and things of that nature. So not extremely far away from Ohio. Um, but when
Well,
you're on a bike riding hundreds of miles, it seems like it's extremely far. But
oh, I
you
would
know,
think so. And the
yeah,
weather.
yes. I mean, there's some guys out there that they've ridden to California and back, and just did Route 66 and back, and there's just so many things to do. I don't know if one has enough time in their lifetime to do that. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with biscuits, but you did ask me that.
Yes.
Because I can talk all day about riding motorcycles.
Well, and you can always pack some biscuits in your side
Yeah,
packs, your
that's
saddlebags,
very,
whatever they're called.
you got it. That's what they're called. That's very true.
So we've
But believe
touched
it or
on
not,
several things.
horses kind of scare me to death, but because I think they know that, I don't trust them. But motorcycles is just totally different thing.
So we've touched on several things.
Yeah.
And so educator, baker, motorcycle enthusiastic person, and
Mm.
just all around social. So if someone said they want to do what you do, what advice would you have for them?
I think what I would say is not so much, if especially to a younger person, maybe in their, late teens or early 20s. Um, find something you're good at, because I think you'll develop your passion from that. I don't want to tell people, hey, just find a passion and go there, because it took me a long, long time. I still don't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, Laura.
Mm,
But yeah, find something you're good at bloom where you're planted, and
hmm
and your passions, I believe, will grow out of that. A lot of people do say, find something you're passionate at, and money will come and all this good stuff will happen. But I say, find something you're good at that you enjoy doing. Doesn't have to be your dream, and do it well, and lots of things will come from that. And I think you'll eventually find what you want to do, because things change as you grow older. And um, lots of times you have a family when you're younger, sometimes you don't. um, I I think a lot of wise young people go explore the world before they get a family. I think that's a very wise decision. That's kind of what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, but some people, get married right out of high school, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that either. Um, but that would be what I would tell somebody, would be to find something you're good at, and and do it, and good things will come from that.
So, what is next for Kevin? What's on the horizon for you?
That's what's exciting, because Kevin, if I can talk in the third person, you know, I I'm I like to take risks. I don't mean foolish risks, like jumping out of an airplane necessarily. Although I wouldn't mind trying that someday. But uh, I don't know. There are some things in the works for the biscuits. Um, when I first started baking biscuits, one of the things that I was looking for around town was an industrial kitchen, because there's certain food laws and requirements that you have to follow
Right.
if you're going to bake a biscuit. It's a lot less rules than, let's say, you start to put meat on a biscuit, like sausage, bacon. You really have to follow certain food laws, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't just do that sort of stuff out of your house unless it's a licensed facility. So there, basically, I could not find any industrial kitchens closer than Cincinnati or Columbus. Um, Many churches and things had either gotten rid of theirs, or they weren't in use anymore. And when I say industrial kitchen, I mean the state of Ohio, the health department, they require certain things, like a certain amount of sinks, certain type of refrigeration, stove, things of that nature, because that they have to come in and inspect stuff you just can't do from your regular house, unless you have your house designed that way and you're a licensed facility. So there are some good things coming. I don't really think I necessarily have permission to talk about them, but I will say this. There is supposed to be an industrial kitchen coming into Portsmouth, and I'm staying in close touch with those folks. Um, that will probably be my next transition to making sandwiches, before I look into purchasing a food truck or a trailer. I really want to see how my product does, because right now I've just done biscuits, like I said, strawberry, um, blueberry, cheddar and chive, and a classic buttermilk. I have not made sandwiches yet for commercially. I have for family and friends and stuff like that, but not commercially. So this industrial kitchen that's in the works would really be kind of a dream thing for me, and and it wouldn't just be for me; it would be for any other chefs in the area, or whoever wanted to sign up and use this kitchen. Um, it would be a facility, of course, that you rent out, and you would have a certain time to do your product and then take it to market. Um, but
That sounds exciting. It
yes,
really,
it's
I had
very
no idea.
exciting, very exciting. And actually, I met the person who's working on that through this entrepreneurial thing that Shawnee State hosted. Um, but yeah, I'm probably not at liberty, to mention any names or anything yet, because
No.
as far as I know, it hasn't been publicly stated yet. So as hard as it is, I'm going to keep my mouth closed on that one. But as soon as I'm allowed, as soon as I'm able to, I will put that on my Facebook page. But as of right now, I don't. I'm still in the infancy origins of this, Laura. I don't really do orders over the internet yet or catering. Now, do I want to do that? Absolutely. But I just don't have the type of facility that I would think I would need. And I don't want to make people promises and not be able to keep them, you know, for large orders and catering and stuff like that. But you'll have to excuse me. I've been getting over a cold and my voice is kind of hoarse. But anyway,
and
there are
school's already started too.
Yes, there are some exciting things happening in the biscuit world with Heavens to Biscuits. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, Kevin, it has been a thrill to have you as a guest, and I look forward to catching up with you down the road, and we chat again. And so bye for now, Kevin, and let's chat again about Heavens to Biscuits progress in your business.
Thank you, Laura. It's really been an honor to be on your podcast. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
So as our time comes to a close, remember to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep supporting each other. And remember to bloom where you're planted. Bye for now.